everybody. I'm Regina Bryan, and welcome to the Women of Empowered Living. My guest today is one of our awesome Empowered Living ambassadors and a John Maxwell team member. She is the founder and owner of Transformations Happen, and now she is a published author. And her new book, which we're going to talk all about today, is Snapshot, The Revealed Hope. Brenda is very passionate about giving people hope and considers it a blessing and honor to serve. Brenda Nickelson Cain, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Regina.
I'm excited to have you.
Well, I'm excited to be here. I'm very grateful.
Oh, my pleasure. I love your festive holiday decorations. So for everybody out there in Facebook land watching, it'll already be 2022. I love that Brenda has her Christmas decorations as our background. We are fast approaching Christmas, aren't we, Brenda?
Yes, we are. We have a couple of weeks. Santa's coming.
That's right. And where are you joining us from today? Where's your beautiful?
I'm joining from Carson, California.
Okay, where's that?
That's in Southern California area.
Okay, near LA.
Near LA, a few minutes away from Long Beach.
Okay, and I think when we spoke, I was like, oh my gosh, Brenda, my husband and I for a very short time had an LA apartment.
Yeah.
And you and I could have visited the few
We
times
could have.
But you know what? I'll be back, and I cannot wait to visit with you.
Awesome.
So, one of the things that stuck out to me about you, Brenda, not just your beautiful smile and how you so wonderfully serve our community, you have a new book. And yes. I saw that on Facebook and I was like jumping up and down, just jumping for joy because yes, Snapshot, The Revealed Hope. I've never written a book. I know it's daunting at a minimum. I know it's blood, sweat, and tears. So talk to us about how this book came about. What was the starting point for you in thinking I should write a book?
Well, the starting point, let me go back like 32 years ago when my 32-year-old son was in my womb. I was taking a nap and had no idea about writing. I wasn't an avid reader or writer. But I was sleeping and I literally heard this voice in my sleep said, "You will speak and you will write." And I remember like a little girl, and I went, and I tried to grab a pencil and paper and I'm thinking, I don't know what to write. And I put it down and it has stuck with me. It was like glue. It has never left over all those years. And so then one day I made a list of all of these names, fast forward, like all of these names, probably like 3 years ago, of all the topics or the titles of a book. Mm-hmm. Have content, just all the cool titles that would connect to something. And Snapshot was somewhere in the middle. I had some whimsical Transformations Happens when ... book that I was already starting. And I'm thinking that's going to be my first book. But one day when I was at church service and during the worship part of service, and the music is playing, my eyes are closed, my hands are lifted, and I hear, "Your first book will be Snapshot." And I grabbed an offering envelope and I wrote it on the back of it. And I went, but I knew it wasn't me because that wasn't my agenda.
Wow.
And thus slowly the process of writing this book happened. And there's a lot of emotion because I was writing about just snapshots of
your own life.
Yes, from my own life.
These were not easy stories to tell, were they, Brenda?
No. For the most part, no. There are some things in there that brought smiles to my face when I was writing them. But for the most part, no, like the very first chapter, I was in my early 20s, and that was a very painful, time, being in love with somebody that didn't love you. So,
I think most of the women of America can relate to that story at least once. And talk to us about the name, though, Snapshot. So did you use that to sort of develop the overall flow and what the book was like?
Yes. So if you could look at the front, these are like pictures. Here's a camera, and then it's snapshot, they're revealed.
Now, are those photos from your life?
No, well, these are just photos that the designer, who actually is my son, who's a graphic designer, did the cover. And so, but the book is hinged on, let me show you really quick, like a photo box. See that?
Oh, wonderful.
It's pictures. Now, these are real pictures, and that is a real photo box. And so the book is hinged on, like, if I'm sitting with you right now, we're sitting around the coffee table and we're looking at all these pictures, and either you or I will pick up the picture and say, okay, what is this about? Or you might say, what is this about? Or I'll pick up and go, this was happening at this particular time. And I give a snapshot.
Yeah, you tell like a little
long details.
So they're just little glimpses, little stories that revolve around these photos.
Yes.
Now, because the stories are not always easy to tell, what was the reaction from some of the people that might read it, like family members or parents? What was that like when you open up about your life and it's not always easy to tell?
Well, my father's deceased, but my mom is still living, and she's a very, very discreet woman. And so I know that she is always nervous when it comes down to, what is Brenda going to say? And because she told me, like, in my teens, don't air your dirty laundry, right? So, and I had that, that stigma of giving, telling your story or saying something personal. You don't say it out loud. And so I didn't tell her about the full, I just told her I'm writing a book. And just that alone, you could see her face was like,
like, what were you talking about in this book?
So I knew, what? I know that what I heard when I was in church, I know I'm going to write the book, and I'm not going to tell her. Okay.
So,
I'm not.
Brenda, while you're writing, were you worried, oh my gosh, I'm telling the dirty laundry? Was that like in your thinking?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've presented women's conferences. I've done workshops. I'll say a little something in front of people that they're right there. But this is going to people I don't even know, haven't even seen. I don't have faces to the people. So my insides would quake, and which actually took me longer to write the book, because I'm thinking about all these people that don't have no faces are going to be reading, pieces of my story. And that was really scary.
Though, I think that's interesting that you say that you come from a background of don't air your dirty laundry, and you're typing away or writing away, and that caused you pause. Did that play into some major procrastination? Were you going back and forth a lot within your own self?
Yes, a lot of going back and forth.
How did you finally push forward, though? If you had to deal with that mindset day in and day out, you hear mom's voice, your own voice, people are going to read this, what will they think? Because once it's in writing, it's in writing. How do you overcome that voice as you're working through the book?
Well, I have to say, I'm faith-based, and I know that I really love helping people, and it seemed like every time I saw a need, or every time I wanted to, do a particular thing, and I'm like, God, so how can I help? And I would always hear that voice that said, finish the book. And then so go along the way, I'm like, okay, and just, a little bit, and then I get stuck again, because it was terrifying. And then I see another need, asking it, so God, how can I help? What can I do? Write the book, finish the book, get the book, and it was always that. And then also I have a core, I know lots and lots of people, but I have a core group of not just friends, but they're like the sisterhood in my life, and my mentor, who's just the wisest of women to me. And she would always say things that were very, very wise, very loving, very gentle, and just kind of nudged me along, you know. And so my husband, who would say, no, baby, you're gonna do good. But I thought, you know, you're just saying it because I'm but little by little, with the positive encouragement of my inner circle and the constant voice of this Holy Spirit.
Finish the book.
Finish the book, right? Okay, and so
how long overall did it take you to finish the book?
I started writing the book in 2018.
Okay.
And I joined a publishing, a self-publishing school, so that I didn't, because I had no idea. And so I ended up getting a writing coach for a little bit, just to help guide me along the way, because left to myself, the book would not be out. You know, I'd probably be 80 years old and still here, finish the book.
Right, finish the book.
Yeah.
But you did finish the book, and the book was published. So let's go back and talk about Mom and maybe some other family or friends. Okay. So Mom, who didn't want you to air your dirty laundry, now the book is actually published. Has she read it, and what did she think?
Yeah, as far as I know, she probably was the first one who bought the book.
Wow.
And I really think that she, out of curiosity, not just supporting her daughter, I think, let me see what this child of mine has said, right? Because sometimes she goes, where do you come from? And so she read the first, I think it was the first and second chapter of the book. And I was at work and I got a phone call that went to voice message. And tearfully, she says, I'm so glad you didn't pick up the phone. And I didn't want to text you. And I want to tell you how proud I am of you. Oh, and she says, you know, your stories touch me. And she's crying in the phone. And I was just sitting going, like, right. This, yeah.
Mom was cautioned you since you were a teenager not to air your dirty laundry.
Right.
Even though you weren't telling full stories, you were telling glimpses of stories.
Yeah, that's enough.
They are real stories from your life.
Yes, definitely real stories from my life. Now,
you mentioned chapter 1 was particularly difficult.
Yes.
What stories, be it that one or others, that you can share with us, a glimpse, a peek of the ones that were maybe challenging, difficult?
Yeah, the very first chapter, and I think I made it the first chapter because I needed to get it out of the way.
Ooh. And
that chapter is called Voice in the Dark. And again, that, you know, I was in my early 20s and I'm getting ready to get married, and one month away from getting married, and to discover that this love of my life that I thought at the time was still seeing somebody else on the side. And it was so crumbling and crushing to discover that that was going on 1 month away from getting married. And so I talk about that, and I talk about the voice in the dark. And for whatever reason, my spiritual journey has gotten me to hear certain things that even if I'm not, even if I'm like, that's not, you know, that it's eye-opening. And that's what happened. You know, I hear a voice in the dark while I'm sobbing, pain, crushing feelings going on, not understanding how is this happening. I'm getting married, I don't know. And then I hear this voice in the dark. And that voice in the dark said, leave him alone, he is not for you. And it was a very deep, and this is how devastated I was. I just said, shut up and leave me alone. Like I did, I shouted that out. And
you were talking back to the voice.
I talked back to the voice, but not even somebody sane would said, ooh, who was that? What was that? Ooh, me, I was so brokenhearted, so consumed in emotion, which a lot of women would be. And I wasn't looking at what was real or not real, or I'm just knowing that my life has come to the screeching halt because I was supposed to become a wife, you know.
How did you go back to yourself? This was when you were in your 20s. Gosh, yeah. We all know how foolish we can be in our 20s.
Yes.
How did you handle that, Brenda? How did you get the courage? Because I'm guessing you didn't get married to that person.
No.
So how did you have the courage or the strength to walk away from that?
It was difficult, and I think at that particular time, I didn't realize, you know, there was a codependent element. However, that didn't develop until later down the road. But because his family, the guy I was engaged to, his family was, they were a very close-knit family, and they were so angry with him because they saw him with the girl. And they were so angry, and they told me about it, and all I could do was cry and let go. And at that point, again, it was just the beginnings of codependent behavior, but it wasn't fully blossomed. So it was easier to let go, painfully to let go. But I had to. And then, you know, just one thing led to another, and more was revealed. And it wasn't just about the voice in the dark. Literally, from someone I've known like 3 or 4 years, there was like blinders fell off and just things started happening to show the true side of this person.
Wow. So you really kind of dodged a bullet, so to speak.
Totally.
And you listened to the voices and the blinders came off. That that had to be a difficult story to revisit.
It was a difficult story because although I'm telling snapshots of different things, I'm revisiting.
Yeah.
And when you're thinking on a thing, it also brings up emotion. And so, and I'm not still wounded behind that.
Right.
But the emotion comes up because I'm seeing this invisible motion picture of the event.
What other story, Brenda, was challenging or a little tricky for you to tell?
The other part that was really, really challenging was Whisper in the Wilderness. And I believe that was chapter 4. And that snapshot was involving in my regarding my first marriage. And that was difficult because that ended up being an abusive marriage. It was really great and really abusive. And
high highs and low lows.
High highs and low lows. And kind of crazy making, you know, you just don't know what you're gonna get. So you just kind of go with the good, right? And block off the not so good. And what made it really difficult to write, I knew that I needed to tell that story. I felt I needed to tell that story because there are so many women out there that has experienced having that high highs and low lows and that crazy making relationship and abuse and not knowing how to get out of it. And I was clearly the one that didn't know how to get out because I kept going and coming back and going and coming back. But
How many years were you married?
I was married for 10, 11 years.
Okay. And you have a child from that marriage, is that correct?
Yes, my oldest son.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. My oldest son is from my single, when I was single.
Okay.
And my middle and my youngest son is from that marriage.
From that marriage, okay.
Yeah. And so their father is now deceased. So when I started writing the book, they know about certain parts of the story. I hadn't told them a lot because they don't need to know all of the stuff.
Right.
But before I even put it on paper, I asked them individually, were they okay with me writing about their dad and about some of the things that took place? And oh, God has blessed me with some wonderful sons.
Oh.
And they said, Mom, tell your story. You need to tell your story.
Yeah. And when it came out, Brenda, and they had an opportunity to really read it or ask you questions, now that it's out there, what was their reaction?
I'm proud of you.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
I felt that just now.
Yeah, I'm proud of you.
How did you feel when they're your boys who gave you their blessing to write about that, and then they find out maybe a little more about it, and now they're saying we're proud of you? How did you feel?
You know, I sometimes think there has to be a bigger word for gratitude and a bigger word for grateful, because my sons have, from the beginning of Transformations Happen, have been with me since 2010, when that whole idea and the vision, and they have partnered with me till this day. Wow. And so for them, if they see me like pulling back because this seems to be too hard, and they're like this, or they're hugging me, or and then my current husband, who we've been together now for with dating and marriage for 25 years.
I was going to ask you about him.
Yeah.
So what's the reaction to these stories as well? I mean, your boys took it well. They're your biggest cheerleaders. And so what about your current husband? What's his reaction been?
Well, I actually talked to Tim first, and that's my husband, Tim. I actually talked to him first, and I said, and then there's like a little piece, because we have a story too that eventually we will tell together. And so he, again, I always think you're just saying that because you love me and you're just, but it's not. He's so wonderful and so supportive. And that's what he goes, I got your back. I got your back.
Oh my God.
So, yeah. So when you think about the dark times, to be blessed with, a family that men in the family to be supportive, to say, tell your story. And
because could you see this, Brenda, back in the day when you were heartbroken a month away from that first marriage, or the marriage that you did have, marriage number one, abusive, that you had to leave, and now you have these grown sons, this husband, and they're your support system, and they love you unconditionally. Did you see that coming? And I want to get your take on this. So for the women that are out there and they're going through something like you've been through something, and you didn't see all of this coming, what would you say to the women right now? Maybe it's their wilderness, maybe it's their darkness, and they don't know, they can't see beyond this. Talk to those people, women and men going through those challenges.
Ooh. Hold on. I think the greatest thing for anyone to have is a strong community, or a strong supportive core people that you can trust, they can hear, allow you to have a voice. And when you're talking off the side of your neck, they're not adding to the fuel, like, oh yeah, girl, you, or oh yeah, boy, we're, but, but you have a supportive environment where you can air your dirty laundry and get embraced, or just a quiet ear. Have that's important. Push through, because I remember when Paul was talking about the terror barrier, and I remember it was like, what? There's a name for just fear, right?
Right.
And when I think about certain chapters in the book, it was terror. And it was, so I would say, push past the terror, knowing that if you get to the other side, you will find a reprieve. You will find a reprieve, and there's hope. There's hope. And sometimes, because I thought I was journeying, going through this journey by myself, I literally thought that to the core of wanting just to wish my life away. I wanted the breath in my body just to go. And I was in that mindset because I couldn't see what I see now. I couldn't see having this wonderful support system, or being a part of this great community, which I love serving, or sitting here talking to you. I think that, yeah, you're an Oprah, right? There's no way. There's no way.
Is one of your reasons, Brenda, for pushing through yourself and writing this book, was it to say this to people? What was your big why behind why you would open up yourself and tell these stories to the world?
My big why is knowing everyone has a story, and everyone has experienced some dark times, that everybody's pain, everybody has experienced pain, and pain is great. It's heavy hitting. And so the why of this, there's hope, and you're not by yourself, And I think that if people know that there's someone who came on the other side, because the story is bigger than me. So if I get out of my own way and think about the people that can be helped,
that's what
all worth it. Yes.
How you did.
Yes.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Gosh, Brenda, any regrets about the book? Anything that you would change about it?
No, I would have done it sooner. I would have done it sooner.
So there's a lesson in that. Do it now.
Yes, I'm vastly learning that the universe likes speed, right? Like,
I think I heard that somewhere. You're right.
Right? Yeah, right. So, and because I'm on the other side of this journey right here, I know that I will do things, and intentionally do things quicker. And like I was saying to you in our pre-caller right before we recorded today, that I don't want to waste any more time. Procrastination is not my friend.
No, it's not our friend, is it?
And that's the imposter. Oh, just hold on.
Ooh, now Brenda, that was so good. So when we're procrastinating, when that voice tries to hold us back, that's the imposter. That's not the real us.
Right. Because we have a message, and it is bigger than us. And again, if we could get out of our own way, and when you have a heart to serve, and you have a heart to help other people heal, help other people develop a business, whatever it may be, when we stop looking at what we don't have, or or allowing limited thinking or poverty mentality. It's all a mindset, and the law of relativity is for every action is an equal and opposite reaction. Just as night, there's day, there's hot, there's cold, sun, there's moon, man, there's woman, there's opposites. So if you're experiencing the depth of what you call dark, you've got to know there is an equal amount of light.
Oh my gosh, Brenda, well said. I felt every word you just said. I felt every word of that. And so I have to ask you, and I can't wait to really take in your answer. Brenda Nickelson Cain, for all that you've been through, my friend, what does an empowered life mean to you?
An empowered life means to An empowered life means to me that there is a source greater than myself that I'm plugged into. You're talking about empowered, you're talking about surge, life source, energy. There is a power greater than myself that has restored me. And to walk in that, I will find my purpose. I believe that I am finally living my purpose. And that's what empowered life is to me, to live my divine purpose. And it's not about religion. It's not about none of that, because there's something bigger than all of that. There's no box. So being able to know that, be plugged into that, and walk in that divine purpose, knowing that there is something greater than me, the job that talking to you, it's greater than me. I don't know whose ears it's going to fall. It's greater than me. It's greater. And I'm grateful. And that's what an empowered life means to me. Walk in your divine purpose.
Oh my gosh, why am I feeling every single word? It's just landing right on my heart. Everything that you're saying, Brenda. You are a beautiful, wonderful soul. And I am beyond grateful that you sat down to talk about things that aren't always easy. And you do it because you love other people.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. Thanks everybody for joining us, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Yes. Bye-bye.